Uncharted is another game brought to life on the big screen. Now, how did it perform? Well, let's find out. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the channel. This is GVN, where we review movies, series, comics, animations, and video games. Now, Uncharted is a game produced by PlayStation. I've played all 4 parts. Well, there's a 5th part that involves the ladies. I'm here to play that one, but all 4 parts that this movie is based on, that's the Nathan Drake one. I have played it. I loved it. Uncharted is one of the best games I have ever played, period. So imagine how I initially felt when I saw the movie. Now, you know, the thing is this, with any form of adaptation, whether it's from a comic or a novel or a video game, bringing it to life is a 50-50 thing. And you know, and you guys know how I feel about reinventing the wheel, right? So it was one that when I saw it, I first looked at the cast. And then I saw Tom Holland. I was like, then I saw Mark Wahlberg. So Tom Holland plays the titular hero in the movie. He plays Nathan Drake. And then I saw Mark Wahlberg playing Sullivan, who plays a sort of father figure / mentor in the games. But then, of course, here, best case scenario is like a big brother thing, given the age difference between Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. So, seeing these guys being casted, I was like, am I sure I'm going to enjoy this movie? Like, that was my initial reaction. I saw it, I was like, I have nothing against Tom Holland or Mark Wahlberg, but then I'm like, am I sure? But then, you know, I'll say Uncharted surprised me in a good way, as a matter of fact. So, you know, starting the movie, we see a couple of characters that, if you've played the game, you will know. We see Nathan Drake, like I mentioned earlier. We see Victor Sullivan, and then we see Chloe, played by Taylor Ali. We see Tati Gabriel playing the antagonist along with Antonio Banderas. And so the premise of Uncharted, the entire game, part 1, 2, 3, 4, is the journey for lost treasure. So think National Treasure, or maybe not a Da Vinci Code thing, but more like a National Treasure, Indiana Jones type movie. That's what Uncharted is about. We are looking for lost treasure, an artifact that was buried by conquistadors or by the Teutonic Knights or the something that raided something or sailed the world, you know, something like that. And the premise of this one, and that was why I was a bit iffy when I saw the trailer. See, you play the first part, you play the second part, you play the third part, you play the fourth part, and the entire series takes place in normal real life terms, like maybe in like a decade or more. And we did not know that the character Nathan Drake had a brother named Sam till the 4th part, which was the final part in the series with him. Part 1, part 2, part 3. It was only Nathan and Victor Sullivan and Elena, who was his love interest from the very first part of the game. So now find out in part 4 that he had a brother was like, wow. And it was a wow moment, and really Sam was amazing in the game too. So I really enjoyed it. So then I'm like, the character is just being introduced to us for the first time in the movies, and then you're already telling us he has a brother? What part is this movie based on? And then I see a scene which was like a very iconic scene from the games, also playing out in the movies, but then this scene is from part 3. So I'm like, so are you guys combining part 3 and part 4? What happened to part 1 and part 2? I'm like, are we sure this is not just going to be another game to movie thing that just bombs and doesn't make sense? But hey, I told myself one thing going into this movie, the same way I do it for any game or comic adaptation to movie. I'm going to keep an open mind. And that was what I planned to do with this one. So yeah, an open mind I did keep, and started watching the movie. Now, the way these characters were introduced was clearly different from the way they were introduced in the games, because in the games, Nathan was a kid while Sullivan was like in his 30s. So Nathan was like maybe 12, 13 when they met. But yeah, as you will see in the trailer, he's already an adult where he meets him, and you know, then they talk about treasure and all of that keeps happening. Now, here's the thing. The way the premise and the way their relationship starts in this movie is one based on necessity, not based on trust. They are looking for treasure, and this treasure is connected to Sam, who is Nathan's brother, whom he lost contact with when they were kids, and he has a sort of connection to his brother because of this treasure hunt. It's something that they share. It's like a shared goal, a shared common interest. This was a treasure that they wanted to find together as brothers since they were kids. So this was enough to pull him in, and because Sully knows his brother, or knew his brother, because he talked about his brother just disappearing on him, he wanted to find his brother, and there was enough curiosity for him to get involved. Now, getting involved he did, and one thing I'm going to say this movie excelled at was the antics of Nathan Drake. So here's the thing, Nathan Drake was someone that, even though he's quite skilled and is smart, like he's rather intelligent with solving puzzles and everything, physically, he's not like the best fighter there is. But also, one other thing about Nathan Drake was he was a more of wing it kind of guy. That was how he was. And see, I told you I had my reservations about Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake. He won my heart with the way he played the character in this movie, because he did the wing it so well. There were some things he did in this movie that I remember doing in the game, or I know that Nathan from the game would do. And Tom did it so well. And I think something that really helped Tom's character, or Tom as a human being play the Nate character, was his athleticism. I think he was able to really pull off the stunt. Of course, I know there are areas that would involve hurts and all that will involve a stunt double and fake hits and all that. But Tom was able to pull off some of these stunts that I was just seeing, and I was like this. So my reaction changed. Initially I started moving, but then as the movie went, it was moving. I know that smile was creepy, but really, that was how my reaction changed, because I was now beginning to enjoy the movie. I was beginning to enjoy the way the story was told. It was one that you could tell that the people that made this movie, Dan Fisher, the director, and the entire team, they set out to make something that would, at the very least, the bare minimum, would be fun and enjoyable. And I think that's what this movie was. I enjoyed the entire story, the dynamics between the characters, the way Chloe was introduced, right? I enjoyed it. And I think something that this movie has done well is setting it up as an origin story. Even though it's not an origin story, it does not follow any story from what happened in part 1 or part 2 of the games. But I think it has set it up as an origin story with how these characters met, Chloe, Sully, and Nathan Drake, how they met and how their relationship will be moving forward. If there is a second part or a third part. I really did like that about this. Elena, who is Nathan's love interest from the games, has not been introduced yet. But honestly, I am looking forward to a second part where she'll be introduced, because there is no Nathan without Elena. And when she gets introduced, you guys will understand. And if you've played the games, then you definitely understand why I said so. There is no Elena without Nathan. Like, she grounds him. She's a soulmate. Like, seriously, she is. And I really enjoyed the stunts. There is quite a fun twist in this movie. If you've seen it, then the whole betrayal part. It was maybe sort of expected, but at the same time, it was one that you could still appreciate in the movie. I'll say, when you're talking about one or two plot holes here and there, yes, this movie is not without its plot holes. Like, for example, if you knew that you were going to betray someone, then you know that the person who is an ally to the person is also secured. So when she surprisingly slit the throat of Escada, she slits his throat as Antonio Banderas' character, and then she now said, "Where's Chloe? Come on, you knew you were going to slit his throat." So the only person in that room who shouldn't have known both the guy whose throat was about to be slit and Chloe. So you could have just had your people be behind her while that was happening. They would just stylishly walk there. But then that did not happen. So she got to slip past you guys, and I really liked the scene, the way the action was in the cargo hold of the plane, in the air, in the ship, in the helicopter. Like, honestly, this movie was not what I expected. I mean, well, my expectations were, okay, since it's not following the story of the game, hook, line, and sinker, I hope it's at least a good story. And yes, it was. So I think, to correct my statement, it was sort of like my expectation in a hopeful way, if that makes sense. But really, I enjoyed this movie. I was smiling at the end of the movie because I was like, if I had gone to the cinema to see this, I think I would have liked it. For people that might be critical about the movie and critique it, I mean, when you check Rotten Tomatoes, for example, you got a 40% score. I'm like, I don't know what those guys are smoking there, but really, you should check the audience ratings and you're saying that it's 90% plus. That is what it is, because I think the movie was a really, really fun watch. I enjoyed it, and I think you guys too would. The movie gets an 8.5 over 10 from us here at GVN. So if you've enjoyed this review and you want to watch some other dope reviews, don't be shy. Just check out this video or this video next to see some of them. It's been Tech for GVN. Peace.